What's happening? So, I'm going to walk you through the creation of a custom sign that I built for a business. They create massage oils and they call it Maya oil. And there's different varieties, but he is a massage therapist and he also creates and sells his own massage oils. So that's what this project is for. He sent me the logo that he had an artist create, and I basically took that logo he sent me. I believe it was like an Adobe Illustrator file, and I basically converted that to SVG and imported it into this is Fusion 360, and I imported the main logo and then the name of the product, Maya Oil Herbal Remedy. And the idea is I'm going to carve out this main logo and have these pockets. All of these pockets are going to be machined through a piece of walnut, and then I'm going to 3D print the inserts that or the inlays that go in here. So normally you would do an inlay, you would have for a V-carve inlay, you would carve out the pocket and then you would carve out the negative in like a different wood and you would glue it together and then machine it and you would have your image there. So the idea here is to basically, instead of carving a plug out of wood, I'm going to basically print the 3D print the what would be the inlay on a 3D printer using translucent filament, print those and basically use those as inlays into the walnut pocket here, and then have LEDs coming from behind it shining through. So the idea is to have this main logo. So this will all be walnut with inlaid 3D printed translucent pieces. And then this oil drop will be a 3D printed, again, translucent filament 3D printed oil drop that will sit inside of that pocket. And then I'm going to do a traditional inlay with the lettering, the Maya oil and the herbal remedy. I'll inlay that. The main board, because it's so big, this is 24 by 24 inches. So to do that with like an exotic wood like walnut or wenge or maple, it's would be pretty expensive. And I'm trying to keep the cost on this fairly low for this guy. So I'm going to do basically just a pine board. It's going to be your main board is going to be pine. And it'll be, maybe an inch thick. And then I'll inlay using a darker wood. I think I'm going to use wenge for the Maya oil and the lettering. Then this circle is going to be walnut. And again, 3D printing these inserts. I will, over the top of this, I'll show you the final product, how it came out, and then towards the end you'll see the live video of the install, etc. And the LEDs are going to be controlled by a simple LED controller with a remote. It can also be controlled by your phone, and you'll be able to switch colors, do animations with the LEDs, etc. And I'll go through all that in the video. I'm using a tool by Corbin Dunn. He created a magnificent plugin for Fusion. If you do any kind of V-carve inlays, a lot of people use Vectric V-carve or Aspire, and there's V-carve tooling in there. And I like Fusion. I like using Fusion. There's a lot of control. It is, there's a steep learning curve, but with the help of ChatGPT or Claude, they all are pretty good at helping you learn how to do things. And anyway, Corbin created this amazing V-bit inlay tool where you basically can select your pockets or your profiles that you want to inlay into the wood, and it will go and create the plug. It'll create all the tool paths. It's an amazing tool. I might do a whole video on that. But that's the plugin that I use to create all of this inlay stuff. So that being said, let's go on to the actual build.
So this project is one that is combining CNC inlays, or what I typically do for inlays, but instead of inlaying wood into wood, I'm inlaying 3D printed parts into wood. So this, oops, hang on a second. So this is the main logo, and it's a single piece of walnut, and I cut the pockets in the walnut and then 3D printed what would be the inlay. 3D printed that with translucent filament, and it is cut all the way through. That's the back side. So that I'll have LED lights behind it that will shine through, hopefully. And this is the main sign. And I'm working on trying to figure out where to place the LED strips so that it will shine through, because obviously if they're behind the walnut, it's not going to shine through, and LED lights are very directional. So I kind of need to place them to where they're mostly underneath the translucent parts. And my idea for that, because it's going to be hard, I'm going to have to splice this, cut these and splice it a bunch of different ways. And I still won't get it to where all of the LED lights are behind translucent pieces. So my thought is to cover this entire back circle with a reflective tape, and the entire back of this piece with reflective tape, so that any LEDs that are not directly behind the translucent will hit the reflective and bounce off back and forth, and hopefully we'll be able to spread that the light over a broader area. So that's my plan, and it's inset probably. There's about a 2 millimeter lip that it sits on, and then it goes down another 5 millimeters. So I have a decent amount of space for the LED, and hopefully enough space to throw the light where it will hit that reflective tape on the parts that aren't underneath translucence. It'll hit that and bounce back and forth, and hopefully will cause the whole thing to illuminate. We'll see how that works in practice. I'm not really sure. But other than wiring, cutting this, each little individual piece to fit in each of those translucent things, which is way more soldering than I want to do. I'm already not happy about having to cut this and solder it, because these tapes, they're flexible. The LED strips are flexible this way, but they're not flexible to where I could, go around, have it flat and go, have a tight turn this way. It just doesn't turn that way. I don't think if I crease it, I'm just worried that it'll, mess up the connections. So I'm just going to cut it and splice it back together in lines, and hopefully we'll see how that comes out. And then I've got to do, so that's the lettering, and I have some wenge that I am going to make the plug to inlay into that. So I'll have black lettering, and then I 3D printed another translucent piece for the oil drop, and that will sit in this pocket with another LED behind it. And so the oil drop will be controlled by one LED, and then the main logo will be controlled by a separate LED. And I'll once I get the number of LEDs on there, then I can calculate how much amperage I need for the power supply, because these little power supplies are only, I think, 2 amp, and that's about 30 LED lights, and I think there will be more than 30. So that is the state of this, and I will come back when I have more to show. So the first part of getting the LED reflective tape taped on. So I'm basically going to take this LED, it's reflective adhesive basically, and I'm cutting it into strips, and it's got the backing tape, and you just pull the backing up and apply it just like tape. So my plan is to cover everything except for obviously the gaps where the light's going to shine through, and then on the circle where this is going to be inlaid into, I'll cover this whole thing with that reflective tape, and then I'll put the LEDs on top of them, and anywhere the LED doesn't line up, and it'll just hit the reflective tape, hopefully bouncing back and forth, and will kind of illuminate the whole circle. That's the theory anyway, and we'll see how it works in practice. And this is the plug for the letters at the bottom, cut out on the CNC machine and then glued up, and then I'll machine the excess off, and you'll have the letters at the bottom. So it was actually much easier, and I should have done it from the start. Instead of cutting strips, just cut a large piece, and then use an X-Acto to go and cut out the space where the light needs to go through. That would have been way easier, but you learn as you go. Anyway, I got a few more pieces to go, and this is the lettering for the Maya oil. So I carved out the plug, put it into the pocket, glued it, clamped it overnight, and I did most of the cutting off the excess. The glue is still not completely dry. It's only been 24 hours. I usually let it go 48 to 36 hours before I machine it completely off. Otherwise, you get a lot of the glue that's still not dry and it gums up the bit. So I'm going to do the rest of it probably tomorrow. So initially I was going to have the face of this main logo held on by magnets, so that if I ever had to service the LEDs below, I could just pop it off. So I put these just metal screws on either side, and then on the main board, I glued some magnets to hold it in place. Problem is, the magnets and the screws are not strong enough, and I would have to probably do 8 or a number of more magnets, and then a number of more screws. And I decided that's really not. I'm just gonna tack it with probably silicone, just to hold it in place so that it's not gonna fall off easily, but it won't be. I'm not gonna glue it down, so there would be no way to get into it if I ever had to service the LEDs. The other thing is I finished, you can see the reflective side here, and then I'm putting the reflective tape on the inside of the pocket. I got to trim it to the circle, and then I'll put the LEDs. And again, that's so hopefully it will diffuse the LEDs to where reaches more of the logo. And then I've got the inlay for the main lettering, and then I've got the an oil drop that's going to sit in this pocket and be lit up. And working on some 3D printing parameters to try and get that smoother on that oil drop. Anyway, that's the progress so far. So got the LEDs kind of placed where I want them. Hoping that's enough to fill all of these, to light up all of these inlays. And that's what the reflective tape is for. LEDs are very directional, and I'm hoping that when it hits, if it's blocked by, in these spaces, if the LEDs line up behind here, hopefully they'll hit, reflect, and bounce off, and hopefully illuminate the whole thing. Again, it's my theory, and if it doesn't work, well, then I've got to figure out another way. But hopefully it works well enough. Anyway, that's where we are at this point. So I counted the LEDs, including this is the one I'm going to use for under the oil drop. And we're at almost 145 LEDs, which is almost 9 amps at full brightness. And that's a lot of that's a lot of amperage. And if you're plugging into a standard wall outlet, you're going to be at 15 amps, and there's probably other things on the circuit. I'm going to maybe remove every other. Not sure, but I have to remove some. That's too much power. So I'm going to remove some of these, and hopefully it'll still illuminate the whole logo. But again, this is trial and error, so we'll see. So as I started soldering up stuff to wire these LEDs, what I'm doing is I basically have a bus with power and ground, one of these each for going to the strips, because I don't want to chain the power through all of these, because I would have to inject power at a certain point. So if I go individual power to each one of these, then I don't have to worry about injecting power anywhere. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking these little pads on the back, it's just sticky, like 3M sticky tape that sticks it down. But each of these pads on the other side, it's possible that they'll conduct through this foil, reflective foil, because this is probably conductive. So what I'm thinking is probably, I have a couple ideas. One would be to cut wood strips the size of each of these so that it would shield this from the foil. However, that is going to make it too tall, and then the top, this thing, that's not going to fit on it if I make it too deep or too, make these stick up too much. So the second thought I'm thinking is basically silicone under this entire, each of these strips, to hold it, as opposed to using the adhesive backing, just use silicone. That's my current thought. So not sure how that will work. Anyway, learn as you go. So I decided on just using clear packing tape, 2 layers under each strip. It's clear, it'll allow the reflection to come through, and hopefully will not be conductive. I don't think it will be, and we will find out. But that is the plan. So just regular clear packing tape, double layer. Hopefully that should insulate anything from shorting out. So I've got the wires going through. So I drilled some angled holes, one set of wires for each LED strip, and then there'll be a single data wire coming through. And then this is the back side. Not exactly neat and tidy, but hopefully it'll work. I just soldered, all these two main wires will go to the power supply. Power out of out of the controller. Sorry. Um, and then the data line will also come, and there's only one data line. So I don't have to inject power. I'm going to each of the LED strips with power, but then the data line doesn't have any amperage or you know not a lot, and so that'll just be chained. So that is the current state. So wiring up the bus bars for the power supply to the LEDs. So I'm going to have a main um, 18 gauge wire basically, and then that's going to split off to 6 individual 22 gauge wires to go to each of the LEDs, and there's a white one and a red one. And what I do is, you can see, so I basically split the threads on, create these gaps with your stripping tool, and then I used a nail just to make separate the threads in half, and then thread the other wire through there, wrap it, and then solder it. So that'll be the bus bars, the power bus. So I figured I'd film the initial turning on of the LEDs. I got everything wired up. And now it's time to see if I have any cold solder joints or if I screwed something up. And if it works, then you can congratulate me. If it doesn't work, you can laugh and point at me and say all the mean things that you're thinking. So let's see if this works. Oh, look at that. And it works. How about that? So now this also has, you can control it with the phone, and there's a remote that comes with it. And I got to figure out which one of these. I bought one there's going to be one controller for the oil drop, so that can be a different color than these guys. And then, so now let's see, where did I put, oh, here we go. So we'll just lay this on top just to get an idea if this is going to illuminate like I think it hopefully will. And there you go. It's not bad. It's not quite, yeah, you can see the hot spots where the LEDs line up. So, yeah, and there's no, okay, so it's not ideal, but I can either do more strips and get go up to 15 amps or whatever and cover the whole thing. But I think I'll just space them out a little bit more evenly. And so, it's not bad. So I didn't wire anything wrong, so that's good. and we'll go from here. So, to answer the question, did my reflecting tape idea work? The answer is no. So you can see where the LEDs are lined up, you have light, and it's really evident on this middle one. There's no real light coming through that middle one. And same here. So there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strips. And it's really noticeable on these vertical lines here where there's no light coming through there at all. So my guess is maybe the gap between the back of this and the back of the pocket is too shallow, and they're just the light doesn't have room to bounce around. I could probably think of other ways to do this, and maybe put some mounted sideways or at an angle so that it would bounce. But anyway, I mean, it's not bad. I think you get the idea. Um, and it's all remote controlled, so I can change the color. Um, and then there's a bunch of different modes. Um, I don't know what that one is. And you can change the speed. You can also have it sync to music. And it's also, there's an app you can control it via your phone. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, um, so not ideal, but I think it still looks not too bad for a business. So there you go. So now I've got both controllers controlled. So this controller controls the oil drop, and this controller controls the main logo. And this remote, main logo, goes on there. So this remote, you can change the main logo, and it doesn't affect the oil drop. So they're controlled separately now. So I can set that one there, and then with the other, I can set the oil drop. Yep. Well, it was working a minute ago. It is. All right. Well, something's not working. So I don't know that this is. I don't know that they were meant to be used like this, but I don't see why not. But basically, the remotes are supposed to be paired. You can pair them to the different zones, and I did that. And obviously, something's not working. But anyway, right now they're different, so I'll see what's going on. So everything is now wired up, and it's got, it's a bit messy on the back. So what I'm going to do is I went into Fusion 360 and designed a back cover that will cover that. And it is currently printing. And as soon as that's done, I will use that to cover all of this, keep it all nice and tidy, and just have one exposed. You can plug into either of these. Plug in there and we'll be good to go. And we are about done. So the whole reflecting tape on the back of the sign didn't really work out. We'll try something different next time, but I did raise it up with, I basically printed out translucent, just a lift to lift it up about 8 millimeters above. That gives a little bit of space to bounce the light. It works, marginally, but and I had to print it in 4 sections because my printer can't do. Uh, it's like 380 millimeters diameter, and I can only do like 330. Anyway, so I just got to glue this all up. But basically, it's going to sit like that. And so you got a nice glow at the bottom. So that's kind of a cool effect. And basically that is it. And you got a remote for the main logo and a remote for the oil drop. And I just got to tack everything down. I'm going to basically tack it down with just silicone so that if I ever need to get in to service the LEDs, it's not like wood glue where it's going to destroy the whole thing. It'll keep it secure, but if I need to get it off, it'll be not too bad to get off. So there you go, all done. Thanks for watching. So this is the back panel that was 3D printed. And as always, I measured many times, but still got it a little off. So I had to cut out a slot for the power button. You should never need the power button because once they're on, you can use the remotes to turn things on and off. But in any case, I provided access to them. But came out fairly nice and covers up, gives it a nice clean look. And since I attached the main components to the main sign with just silicone, because I wanted to be able to access the LEDs to service them. Hopefully I'll never need that, but I didn't want to use a like wood glue or cement or anything like like a contact cement, anything that would basically destroy the sign if I never needed to get those pieces off. So because silicone is not really an adhesive, it's more of a sealant. I was kind of worried that maybe it would not be strong enough to hold it. So I'm doing a test, basically running the LEDs at full brightness and basically have it turned upside down so that the full weight of the pieces are on it. And I'm going to let this sit for a while. And I don't think it'll fail. It's a pretty strong bond, but just in case, I'm going to leave it like this upside down, let gravity do its thing. And if it holds up to this, then it should be pretty good to hold up long term. Now, obviously, time will tell if the silicone loses its adhesion after a while, but I think I should be good. The only other option would be to print some supports to hold, like at the bottom of the circle, to hold it in place. But hopefully we won't need that. Anyway, the only thing left, I'm going to probably put some wire across the top so that I can hang it. I was thinking of doing a French cleat, but the office that this is going in has metal supports. It's not wood studs, it's metal studs. So I'm not exactly sure how he's going to hang it. He might just, sit it on a desk or something, in which case I'll make some supports on the bottom just to hold up the sign. Anyway, that is the state of project. I think it's pretty much done. So, excuse me, in order to hang this thing, basically going to use some standard picture wire. Supports about 40 pounds. The sign is not quite 8 pounds. so it's not that heavy. And then these are what I believe are called Hercules hooks. They basically just poke them through the drywall, and they sit like that. I had looked at these, all the different drywall, not grommets. I can't remember the name. Anyway, it's just a lot of mess. I think these will work fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a couple holes here, run the wire through, and then just hook the wire to these hangers, and hopefully that'll be it. So I just drilled a couple of holes on either side of here. I wanted them wide space so you could have two of them, and I put it to where even if you hang it in the middle, you're not going to see the wire. But I plan on having two of these Hercules hooks, and I'll have one about there, and I just tie them in the back and put some screws with some washers just to hold it in place, and that should do nicely. One other thing I did, it's going to be hanging on a wall, and this power supply, it's a 10 amp power supply, so it's not heavy, but I didn't want it pulling on this connection, so I basically notched in this support here. I just notched it to where that can sit, and it'll sit flush with the wall, and it'll keep it from pulling on this connection there. So, and I put these little felt pads on there to keep it from marking up the wall. And that's I just tacked these in there. It's just a washer and a screw to hold the wire in place. But it is ready to be delivered.
Wait. Yes, yes, right there. Hey, oh, that's easy. Wow. You got to plug. Oh, that's probably you. Ah, shit. That. Over there. He's in the air. Glass. Chris, but so where you plug it in before we hang it up. That's it. Yeah. I can have all over your ship. I mean, yeah. No. That's all right. That was on. Oh, there it is. Yeah. That was here, man. So let's see. That's the main logo. So I'm to think. That's what I'm like. I all want. Dude, that looks crazy. Great job. Way. I paid. You saw that. And then no thing. So I'll put, there's a thing you put on your phone that you can connect to it and do all this through your phone. Yeah. So there's a remote for the logo. Oh, look at the background logos too. Yeah, yeah. So I have like this thin, and you still kind of radiation inside. But this thing came out great. You do it. And then this one's for the logos. And you have all the same thing, but I'll get it set up on your phone. Damn it, right. So that you can hit. How'd you know so flash? There's like 85, I think there's like 82 LEDs behind this one and like 7 in there. And I initially had like 150, but that draws like almost 9 amps. So you be, cut power, but yeah, I think it's a little club with both of them. Yeah. And that's wenge inlaid into the pine. So it's honestly, it looks super slick, but that's maybe good to know that you because you can't be actually for the past, so let's tell it. Well, custom generators. Custom ready, dude. Thanks. That's very good we have. Trying to get Saturday and the woman. Oh, shit. How six and six go through? That's smart. I like that you went with the light wood, complement the dark background, yeah, and the dark spots. Because if there was a darker wood, we would use that new list spot and have to be like at the song, right? Do that. Yes. Now, what do you say they're called? Hercules hooks? And you just hook into the wall there? Yeah. So you basically poke it through and then it comes like that, and this holds it against so the wall is here, so it holds it against that. Like the back. Well, I need to get into more of those. I didn't even know those kind of hooks exist. Yeah, I mean, it's basically pushing curry. No, that's it. Like the one spot. These are most with high ends. Here's the cheapy looking base. All right. You said. It. Ladder. Things. That's clean right there. Woo. This one. This somebody proud. Hey, where's the highlight poster? There's a bunch of between that fill out the way. So it's three of them. And we get one of it now. What I hate about some of these ones, they make these things like bricks. Yeah, so I gotta say, I'm no opening. So you don't have an opening. Let me see. I can I like ears deep, and you can get like all these powder bricks. You can get some to replace these with just one. So you have one with 4 inputs. That's what I would not the suit. Perfect. So which one? Let's just which one I can unplug for now. So that one. This one, the big one. That was just loud range. Because you asked them you should be. That didn't even matter. It's probably is the. Oh shit! How'd you get the? Yeah, I mean it's not really in. And that's it. It works, man. Yeah, it works, man. Woo! So you got your phone? Please. Oh, right here. Well, I thought it was my phone. So it's called BandLab. Is it called? BANLANX. BandLab or BandLab? Let me shut this off and then I'll